In today's episode, we dive into a story of unexpected turns and triumphs in the home service industry. From an unplanned career shift from nursing to plumbing leadership, discover how embracing change can lead to unparalleled growth and a blueprint for success that you won't want to miss. Stay tuned as we uncover strategies and insights that promise to enhance your own journey towards freedom in business.
Running a home service business is hard. So how is it that some people make it look so easy? Well, we'll tell you. This is the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. It's always good to hear the wins that successful contractors have. But have you ever thought that the best advice would be to hear about the speed bumps they encountered, the mistakes they've made along the way? We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want you to be successful and avoid the mistakes others have made. Let's get this party started. Welcome to the Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Now your host, Justin Deese.
Welcome to Freedom Blueprint Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Deese. And before we jump into it today, at Freedom Blueprint, our goal is to assist business owners in achieving the freedom that they dreamed of when they founded their business. We do this by discussing relevant topics, strategies, and even the speed bumps that we've all encountered along the way. So we empower you to build a blueprint that unlocks the freedom within your business. And today, we've got a really cool guest that's going to give us a little backstory on him that's, I think, a little bit different. And it is Jacob Hamilton from Tim Ferguson Heating and Air. Jacob, welcome, man.
Thanks, Justin. Good to be with you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Tim Ferguson Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
So Tim Ferguson Plumbing, Air, and Electric. I know it's a mouthful.
I did it backwards.
Yeah. So we're in West Tennessee. Been in business this is our 25th year of business. Tim started 25 years ago. He was an employee, building inspector with the county in Jackson. He got fired, and he will tell you that he deserved it. He won't tell me what he did, but I'm sure he mouthed off to somebody, knowing Tim. But he that day, he had done some plumbing, when he was younger. He found a Sonic they were putting in town. He went and bought the equipment, told the guy, hey, I can put your plumbing in for you. And that started, the business that we are today. We were primarily a plumbing company, commercial plumbing. He added a little bit of service. And then about 9 years ago, we added HVAC. And about 7 years ago, we added electric. And we kind of made a shift to primarily service. We kind of moved out of the new construction space. So that's kind of the quick how we became and what we are today story.
Okay, very cool. So now, how did you end up in the trades?
So Tim is my father-in-law, and I, had been married to his daughter Mitzi for almost 2 years, and I had just graduated nursing school and was kind of gearing up, looking for a job in nursing. And Tim, my father-in-law, called me one morning, said, hey, I need you to come by the office. I need to talk to you about something. And
that doesn't sound, were you a little bit nervous?
Absolutely. So I'll give you a little bit of framework to that story. First time I met Tim, I came to Jackson. I lived in Memphis at the time, and I came to town with Mitzi to meet her dad and have lunch. We had a great lunch, and I mentioned something about one of my tires was a little low of air. So he said, hey, come by the office. I got an air compressor. We can, air it up real quick. So we get to the office, go out to the warehouse. He, throws the garage door up. We start airing the tire up. He puts his arm around my shoulder. He says, you see that backhoe over there? I said, yeah, that's pretty cool. He goes, I've got about 10 acres of land too. I was like, yeah. Mitzi told me you bought a new house. He goes, I just want you to know I can make you disappear real quick. And he laughed, pumped me on the shoulder, walked off. That was it. And that's a lot of dads make those jokes, but I 100% believe that was no joke. So fast forward, he calls me, wants me to come by his office. One afternoon I was off. And I'm thinking, what has Mitzi told him that I've done to her? I'm just
At least he
all
didn't
these
ask you
things.
to meet him at the property.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. All these things going through your mind, like, what is this going to be? So, get to his office, and he kind of lays out a plan that, he was wanting the business to kind of stay a family business. He saw something in me that he thought I could be helpful to the business. Um, I had zero business experience and less than zero trade experience, in which I told him over and over, and he said, "I don't worry about that. You can figure that out as we go." So, I kind of went back and did some thinking about, what do I want to do? It was definitely a good opportunity. Had the potential to be, a great opportunity for me, and I just kind of made the decision. It's like, what? I've got this nursing degree. It's not going anywhere. If this doesn't work out, I can fall back and onto that. And then here we are, 14 years later. I'm still with the business, so it's worked out pretty well for us.
So, from nursing to running a home service business, that is, I talk to a lot of people, and I've heard a lot of stories about people having different backgrounds. I do not think that nursing has ever been that shift. So, how different was that?
I mean, it is worlds apart for sure. But I will say there's things that I think the things that would have made me successful as a nurse are things that, are traits and habits that have helped me be successful in the service business. I mean, got to be organized. You've got to be able to make quick decisions. You've got to have good bedside manner, good people skills. Those are all things that I think that made me excel in nursing school and would have excelled as a nurse. I have no doubt about that. But those are things that translate very well. Now it's obviously nursing is a different world. I've told people many times, there are times that I think back, what would have happened if I'd stuck with nursing. And then during the pandemic, I'm thanking the Lord every day. It's like, oh boy, and not that the pandemic was easy for the trades, but I think it was much harder for the nursing community for sure. And
Agreed.
And it's this has afforded me a lifestyle. I won't say less stress. It's just different stress. In the nursing field, when you're in the thick of it, it's that stress is immediate and important, and sometimes life threatening. So I don't have as much life threatening stress day to day, but it's definitely still there.
So I'm guessing that a skill that you would have acquired going through a nursing program and wanting to be in that field that is widely used in our space is sense of urgency.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'll two things that is something that we preach pretty regularly. Is customers call us, they generally have a problem, and they generally want it. They don't want to have that problem anymore. Mm-hmm. I know lots of businesses that struggle, and we have from time to time of struggling about, well, we'll go see what's going on, and we'll get you a quote, and then we'll kind of come back out. And part of what's made us successful is that we are very adamant about, we're going to get your problem fixed as soon as it's possible for us to do that. And 9 times out of 10, that's the same day. We stock our vans with parts, more so than a lot of companies do, just so we are prepared to make that repair for the customer at that moment. The other thing I took from nursing that has helped us quite a bit, that I would recommend to every company, is document. So in the world of healthcare and nursing, if you do not document something, it did not happen. Legally, they're going to come back and go through these, your nursing charts and notes. And if you could have given the patient that medicine, but if you did not document it, you did not give them that medicine, and you have no leg to stand on. And it is the same in the service world. As well as I do how many times the tech has said, well, I did that. It's like, well, where did you notate that? Did you take a picture of that?
If it's not written, it is not real.
It did not happen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So those are two, kind of lessons. I was fortunate to have Miss Johnson, my nursing instructor, was fortunate to she instilled that into us daily, more than daily, as many times as every conversation we had, did you document it? So it's that is two things I definitely took from the world of nursing that have been very helpful in the service industry.
Very cool. So when you came in, threatened by your life, I must have. When you came in, what role did you kind of step into in the business?
At the time, we were still pretty heavy on the new construction commercial projects. So I started as a project estimator. Kind of my first task he was to kind of sit down and audit some of our previous jobs that we had done. And that kind of, I think that was pretty smart stroke by Tim to kind of get me acclimated to what all kind of goes into a job as far as parts and invoicing and the billing and the paperwork that is kind of involved in that. So I started kind of looking back through quoted jobs. We've been quoted fixtures and stuff on it, kind of making sure that the supply house quoted us is what we were actually charged, and did we have any kind of, what were the outliers on some of these jobs that made them very successful or not successful. And once I did that, I kind of started learning to read plans and really kind of estimate some of these big. I estimated we had $1 million plus plumbing jobs that I was the lead estimator and project manager on. So that's kind of where I got my start, and it moved pretty quickly to kind of being the office manager, and then from there kind of being an operations manager, and then general manager. Pretty quickly after that. That was probably in I'd say 5-year span that kind of happened. He realized pretty quick that I wasn't afraid to, just because I don't know how to do something doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. I'll jump in and figure it out one way or another. So, but that was a pretty good quick way to learn how plumbing works in buildings. And I'll tell a quick story. When I was first the office manager, and keep in mind, like I said earlier, I knew nothing about business, nothing. Didn't know payroll, didn't know payroll tax. I knew that you paid payroll taxes, but I didn't know how any of that worked. We had a lady that did our payroll, took vacation. She went out to Las Vegas for a week, and so I was in charge of payroll that week. And it went, fortunately before she left, it's like, hey, I need to know how to do this. Let's sit down and figure this out. It's the Monday she's supposed to be back, and she's not in the office. I'm like, hey, has anybody seen Annette? Where's Annette? And nobody knows. So I call her, and she said, oh, I've decided I'm going to move out to Vegas. Won't be working there anymore. So all of a sudden I had to take all of her tasks, the payroll, the billing, AP, AR, because she did all that at that point. And it was absolutely just kind of a trial by fire of like, all right, Jacob, let's see how quick you can figure this stuff out. I mean, I went online ordering QuickBooks for Dummies, and anything I could figure out, anything I could read and try to learn, teach myself how to do this stuff. I just kind of dove in and did it. So.
Very cool. Yeah, trial by fire. But I bet the lesson that you learned was to make sure you have all the processes documented of what everybody does, because that is and I think if for most people that have been in business very long, you tend to take for granted that someone will be there forever, and you forget about all the things that they do. And so systems and process and the documentation that you talked about, so that when that does happen in the future, you're not in such a bad spot, because now you're messing with people's money. Holy cow.
Oh yeah. That first payroll, I was terrified. Absolutely terrified that I was going to mess everybody's payroll up.
Miss it by a nickel. They're coming for you.
Oh yeah. And there was some things I missed, and they were real quick to say, hey, I didn't get paid for this. Yeah. The great point about the processes, because that's something we've through the years struggled with, kind of being consistent with that, and it never fails. If you don't have that process documented and fleshed out well, that's the one that's going to come back to bite you, because the person that was in charge of it they're gonna leave, or they're gonna be sick, or whatever it is, and you don't have it documented. Now you got to figure out, well, how do we do this? That is, I think that's a pretty overlooked process that a lot of people don't do in a business. And if I, going back from the very beginning, I would have started that immediately. It's like, everything I do, let's just start documenting it now, because it's going back and doing it all at once is quite the task.
Yeah, that's a big one. And I know that in our businesses, when I first started writing really systems in general, I started I started with things that just drove me crazy. Like I would keep a notebook, and if a tech called me, or I got more than like 3 phone calls or 5 phone calls a day about an issue, I was like, "There's my list." That's where I would start it. This problem, I never want another phone call. So how do I do it? And now the world we live in now, there's good technology too, like the Loom and some other things that you can certainly document, which is great. So okay, so Jacob comes in. He's got his nursing degree. Now he's deep in it. He's in quality control mode in the business, which I gotta say that's a really good spot to start because man, you're able to identify problems and catch keywords and what's missing and then you ramp up to the general manager. And then what is well, let me back up here. So for anybody who's listening or who's a normal listener to the show, um, Paradise Home Services, we partnered with Leap Services last year, and uh, Jacob is part of. So Tim Ferguson, that is now part of Leap Services as well. So we're kind of brothers in arms now, and so that's how we originally met was through that process. And I wanted him to come on because I think you guys your story of how you came in is it's just different, and I think people like different, and unique. But so what? Walk us through that process. So you were coming in to take over the business. What? How did that work with like deciding to sell the business and to partner with private equity? Like, what did that look like?
So, back to my original conversation with Tim, he made it pretty clear that he wanted it to kind of stay a family business and, to kind of be something generational that he could lead for. I'll back up a little bit. That his timing could have been driven by the fact that his first granddaughter was about 2 months away from being born. I think that drove a little bit of his thinking of, hey, we've got more generations to this family. This may be something that I want to think about continuing, for those generations to come. So, we had that conversation about what he was looking forward and doing. And, fast forward to last year, he had it's things that obviously changed, his kind of goals and kind of his thinking. And he came to me in January of last year. He had been approached by a different organization than Leap about a potential sale. And he kind of brought that to my attention. We kind of had the conversations about, what that was going to look like and, what he was being offered. And we started the process of that, sale and purchase. Of course, I was the one doing all the work and the due diligence and, months of, paperwork and Excel spreadsheets and diving into, P&Ls, all the fun stuff that comes with an acquisition.
So much fun.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. So we started that process and we got right up to the finish line. And I still don't know really what happened with the other company, but they wanted to postpone to a few months in the future. We're like, fine, we're having a good year. My thought is I'm just going to keep doing, what we've been doing, continue to be successful. And in the meantime, we were approached by Leap Partners. And Tim and I had the conversation again. And I was not as excited about being acquired by private equity as I was potentially being acquired by the company we were talking to. And I was wrong about that. I'll throw that out there. I had heard all the horror stories about private equity and what they're going to come in and sweep the rug and tell you how you're going to run things, and that has not been our experience at all. Tim and I went to lunch with John and Patrick with Leap, and I mean it took about 20 minutes, and I'd already decided these are the guys. This is the fit for us. They were our kind of people, just down to earth, straightforward, easy to talk, somebody that you would want to go and have a meal with, and hang out with, and have just conversations with. Those are the people that I want to do business with, and that's who Leap Partners are. I mean, the whole organization is that way. It's it's been a pretty easy transition for us. So we had that initial meeting, and then we had the next meeting where we received the offer, and yeah, I'd had some emotions for sure about the business being sold, and it not really being a family, tradition, generational business anymore. There was definitely some things I kind of had to work through, that were kind of some of my hang-ups. And after that lunch with Patrick and John, and then having the offer, I mean, I just like, look, Tim, I've been kind of mad about this, but we can't. This is too good of a deal for you to pass up. I mean, he'd worked hard for several years to get the opportunity to be able to earn that, and I sure didn't want to begrudge him of that. If he thought that was what was best for him and for our family too, it's something that will definitely trickle down, for generations for sure. So my kind of hang-ups were, once we had all that stuff, I kind of got over that pretty quick. I think what's a little bit different with our deal is that Tim made it pretty obvious that he was kind of done doing the work, that he was not interested in continue to do the work of running a business. He was kind of ready to retire. And I think what made it attractive to John and Patrick is that I was kind of sitting there. I'd been running the business for a few years anyway. I think it was attractive to them to have a successful business. They generally don't want to lose the owner, but to have somebody that's, kind of plug and place, ready to go, I think that was attractive to them. So so far it's been a great deal. It's given me definitely kind of a learning curve of there is absolutely a difference of being the second in command as opposed to, well, you're the guy now. So there's definitely been a little bit of learning curve of what am I doing daily, and what are the important things that Tim was doing that I need to make sure that I'm doing. And but it's been so far been a great experience.
Well, and that's good because, with us, same thing. Like as we were going through the process of selling and, meeting with several different companies, and then connecting with Lee, really, John and Patrick it was like, okay, these are not, these are not the kind of guys I expected. Like these guys I want to hang out with, and they're super awesome. And it's cool because I think that we kind of came in not that far apart. I think we might have been a couple months before you guys. And I know one of the biggest questions I get asked when it comes to, partnering up with private equity is, what changed? Because there is private equity groups out there that come in and literally it's a different business.
Sure.
And I know for us, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, what has changed from a day-to-day basis from a team member standpoint? And I think from a leadership standpoint, there's different things we have access to, which is pretty cool. But from a team service level, there hasn't really been a whole lot in our experience. And you can say if there's been different with you guys, but like our techs, if you went to our techs and we're like Leap Service Partners, they're like, who? So has that been kind of your same experience?
Absolutely. Yeah, that is for sure our experience. I mean, we have been, the only difference that we've seen is having access to some better tools, having access to kind of a back office type team that is very well experienced and very well versed in the areas that they're in charge of, whether that's HR or accounting or marketing. Kind of having access to those people. Before, a lot of times, especially our size business, we're kind of at that cusp of having a large office staff or not having a large office staff. And if you make that decision to be lean, a lot of times you're wearing a lot of those hats that have to be worn. And generally, they get thrown on the general manager. That's kind of who's divvying that stuff out. But having access to the people that have industry experience has been invaluable. And then a lot of the tools, software that's been extremely helpful with KPIs and tracking stuff and automating a lot of our processes. That's the differences we've seen. As far as what we do day to day, They've not really changed anything. They've offered some suggestions, from time to time. Most of the changes we've made have come from the other group of owners with discussions we've had with them. And it's like, hey, we're doing this. It's like, oh, great idea. We're doing that tomorrow. I don't know that there's been anything that Leap has suggested. Don't tell them this, but I don't know if there's been anything they've suggested that we've done yet. It's all come from the other owners, and it's kind of them. It's kind of Leap facilitating. That's what's so great, I think, about their culture is getting us as general managers together and facilitating conversations with us and kind of letting us as the experts, show what we can do and what we know. And I think we all respect each other enough to know when somebody's got a good idea, we need to jump in and try that as well. So.
Well, and there's a different level of accountability that we have to each other versus, some different best practice groups where you don't have it. We can all see each other's numbers. So when I opened up our Domo today, I'm looking at Tim Ferguson.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking at how close we are, and I'm like, guys, we got to close out a couple more deals here. We cannot be behind Tim Ferguson. We got to. So that I know for me, that's been such a cool vibe, and because we have our own we call them Leap Forward meetings where all the owners we all get together every other week and share ideas and brainstorm and whatever. But man, we're all watching that dashboard.
Absolutely. First email I open every morning is from Domo.
Yep.
Let's see what the dashboard is this morning.
I'm like zooming in.
Yep. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So what? So now with the business. So you guys have plumbing, HVAC, electrical. You guys have 2 locations, right?
Correct.
2 locations. And then what's the size of the team you guys have now?
I think we're 46 employees, I think, at the moment. I mean, give or take a few, depending on what's happened this morning.
It is still trades.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You never know what's going to come up.
Yeah.
So we've fluctuated through the years. I think 60 was about as big as we got, and we were pretty heavy in some new construction projects at that point. And we're in a pretty good sweet spot right now. We're staffed service better than we've ever been before, which we've been fortunate to. That's one of the things I hit the ground running with Leap was we need recruiting. I need more people. I need more techs. They're helpful with that. I've made it. It's back to what I said about being the guy, the one that's kind of really making the decisions. It was I took it. My first task that I thought, what am I going to do is now that I'm the guy, what's our culture going to be? Because it's up to me to set that tone. Because we've had some interesting cultures in our time as a business. A lot of times, if you're not paying attention to it, it's there whether you think it is or not. It's going to make itself whatever it is. We had but before the pandemic, I don't know if it was 18 or 19, we had once right at the beginning of summer, we went from 5 HVAC techs in Jackson to 1. And it was all because of it was a culture, 100% culture issue. And so I made it, that was very important to me. As soon as I was the guy, it's like, I've got to set this tone of who we are and what's important to us, and let our employees know that you are what makes this business work. And the word got out pretty quick about what we were building culture-wise, and we were able to recruit some people pretty easily in the beginning.
I mean, that's the trick is, it's funny. So 10 years ago, and this may have just been me, 10, 15 years ago, there's so much about our industry that's changed, right? There's the technology side. Like I can remember, well, it's probably been 20 years ago now, but I can remember map books. Like we had guys and there was map books. There was no GPS in the trucks, and there was, there were starting to be cell phones, but it was still the Nextel, beep, beep.
Yeah.
Kind of system going on, and then that changed, and then you start to have technology and little things like being able to take pictures at homes, and then now you have technology like AI and all this other neat stuff. But I think the other thing that's really been a big shift and I think the companies that are crushing it have figured this out. Is culture is one of the most important things you can have in your business, hands down. Like, it's not about paycheck anymore. I think that the next gen, and I think that's just going to become more and more important. But I think the next generation that's coming up right now, they've got more choices than ever. So if they don't like you, or they don't like their boss, or they don't whatever, they can leave today and they can be working tomorrow. Now, it may not be in the same kind of job, but they could go do Uber, or they could go do Lyft or Uber Eats, or jump on Upworks and do something. So there's just the generation that we have coming that are in the trades, the younger right now, man, they've got more choices than literally any other time in the history of the world that I can think of. They have more options on what they can do to make money.
Well, and I think even more so in the trades. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could guess if you had a 25-year-old kid come in your door saying, "Hey, I've got 5 years of experience, HVC. Here's what I've done." You're not going to hesitate to hire him. I mean, there's how many companies in your area that would do the same thing? I mean, when you talk about they have options, I think even more so in the trades, they have the options to stay in the trade. Just because there's such a shortage of good quality trained technicians. I mean, if you get a guy that comes in and says, "Yeah, I've got experience," it's like, holy cow, how fast can we get you hired? I mean, just the days of, it seems to be the big shift I've seen from when I started 15 years ago is we would have a lot of people come in and say, "Hey, I've worked for 10, 12, 20 years, whatever it is." I don't see that as much as we did. I mean, it's a lot of those people are retiring. They're retirement age, or they've kind of moved into office type jobs that have all that experience. So you've got a lot of younger people that don't have that experience, that are, we kind of have to go out and find them. I mean, they're not just kind of coming in
and build them.
Absolutely, yeah. And we have been successful. The most successful employees we have now have been people that came in with very little or no experience, and they have the attitude that we're looking for, and we can teach them the technical stuff. And even if they're not the most technical, most capable technician, if they've got the right attitude and the right personality, a lot of customers will be like, "Oh, no, it's okay that you can come back and fix it. It'll be fine." I mean, we see that quite a bit. And that's part of the guys learning. I mean, you've got to mess something up to know what you're doing wrong. So, and we've gone from. I think it's important to kind of make that shift of when you've got these new guys that you're training. When they mess something up, and they're going to, when they mess something up, you can't jump on them and browbeat them. Those days are over. The days of, you're going to do this just because
throwing tools at trainees.
Yeah. and you're going to do this just because I told you to. Those days are those are long gone.
Yep.
And kind of making the shift of we are, especially with the guys that don't have the experience. We are here. It is our fault if they mess something up twice. If they mess up the first time, that's their fault. But it is up to us to train them and to make sure that doesn't happen again. And if it does happen again, we failed somehow in the training, whether we didn't communicate correctly, or we didn't emphasize the importance of it, whatever that is, it was our failure, unless they're just doing something negligent and crazy, which happens.
Right.
It is our fault for not communicating that training properly. Or maybe we just didn't do it at all. I mean, they made a mistake and are like, "Well, you messed up," and then you just you're busy, so you don't worry about it, and then it happens again. That is our fault.
Well, and you think about it, right? So a lot of times we try to break issues or challenges into two buckets, and so a lot of times we'll go, okay, it's in one of two buckets. It's ability or it's willingness. Ability falls on us as leaders. We need to train. If they have the ability, a team member can do anything. If they don't have willingness, dude, there's nothing on this planet we can do. Right. To fix that willingness. So we try to generally put them in one of the two buckets. And to your point too, the attitude, yeah, you hire for attitude, train for the aptitude. And I know that people that are experienced trades people, they hate to hear this, but You can train someone to do the technical thing that our business does, especially if you're methodical about it. I mean, if you spend 2 days, you think about, let's talk about plumbing, water heaters. If you take 2 days with a technician and you do nothing but focus on water heaters for 2 days with that one technician, we'll say electric water heaters to be even more specific. If you spend 2 days with a technician teaching water heaters, electric water heaters, how to repair them and how to install them, and at the end of the 2 days, they're not able to repair or replace it, that's what you got to do. But I think in our industry, what we have a habit of doing is we recruit out of desperation. It's like, oh crap, we need people. Boom, we start hiring people. We start slinging them in trucks, and then we're like, hey, Jimmy, go teach this dude how to go do whatever. And then it's been 2 years, and you're like, how is that guy still in a truck as a helper?
Right. Yeah.
You cannot grow your business that way. You certainly can't scale in that way. But yeah, Aptitude. Attitude over aptitude. I'm with you. I know for our leadership team, we talk a lot about, if you find a superstar, I don't care, hire them. Period.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. So
we have, over the years, I and not just me, but we've had managers in the past that have been really good at this, about paying attention when you're in public. And because there's people that are out there that excel at what they do, whether it's somebody that's working in a fast food restaurant, or a car salesman, or FedEx delivery person, whatever it is. I mean, if you really pay attention to the people that you are doing business with, you will find superstars. Can you hear that train? There's a train track that goes about 10 feet behind my office here. So, but yeah, so paying attention to, those people that you do business with, and kind of looking for the traits that are important to you. I mean, they're out there. Now, are they going to have the technical know-how? No, they're not. But again, like you said, that's up to us to have a process and a system to get them trained and efficient and ready to go out in the field as soon as they can.
Yeah, and it's going to be, having that next generation come in. Part of the other struggle with it, two struggles. One is, I don't think we've done a good job in our industry of making it, I'm going to say sexy. That's really not what I mean. But they all want to be YouTubers because they see YouTubers standing by yachts or Lamborghinis, and they don't realize what it costs to maintain that. Even if you could pay for it, you still got to maintain it.
Yeah.
But I think we've not done a good job of making it sexy. Hopefully, I think with the internet and social media and stuff, I think that's starting to shift a little bit. But the other thing is that the next generation is not as mechanically inclined as they were in the past. And so now, as you see this influx of things like electric cars, or even cars that are not computer driven, like you can't even work on cars like you used to be able to, like teaching my son how to work on a car. Or I had an old Jeep that we worked on because none of our new vehicles we could actually, like, oh, I don't know what to do. Don't touch that. So that's the other problem, is they just don't have that technical aptitude, that mechanical aptitude that generations in the past have. So that's definitely a challenge that we're going to face even more in the future. But again, with the right attitude, you can take a team member and do just magical things with them. Sure.
Yeah. I like to think that, I think that I'm kind of in the middle of those generations. I grew up with a computer. We got a computer in our house with the internet when I was, in the 8th grade. We always had, the gaming systems and kind of computer stuff was around. And, but I can remember a time when you had no internet in your house. And I've never worked on a car. I couldn't go change my oil if I had to, but I was also had a dad and a grandfather that, was always working and building on something. So, I mean, I kind of had, definitely a lot of that, but by the time I was old enough to work on a car, they all had computers and microchips. And I mean, you can't work on that. I mean, you're right. It's definitely, it's even worse now. I mean, it is all, but I'll tell you that what you can look for with that generation is just, I mean, the things I learned from I've got a 13-year-old daughter. The things technical wise I learned from her about, um, computers and softwares. And I mean, she helped me do a PowerPoint a couple weeks ago because she's just so good at that from school and from, she's known it her whole life. She said, well, yeah, PowerPoint's always been around. How do you not know how to do PowerPoint?
Like, look at all this cool stuff I can do with it and the swooshing
Yeah.
things
Yes.
in.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So my daughter is 16, and I was just having a conversation with her yesterday about helping me understand TikTok better, because I do think that there's so much more shifting to it, and I've been studying it from what I call an old guy perspective.
Right.
I'm like, I don't need that perspective, because before you blink, our kids will be the next homeowners, and then we now have to learn to adapt our businesses, because now they're going to be the ones buying HVAC and plumbing. And as funny as it is, I can remember a couple years ago, my son Zach, he's now 19, and I remember thinking, TikTok's not going to be around forever and whatever. I mean, here we are. He's 19 years old. He's probably not too far from where he's going to be buying his first house, and now he's going to be a homeowner. And I'm like, there is no way I would ever be able to communicate with him as a customer.
Sure.
There's no way. Like, he's not on Facebook. He's not on old people Facebook, and he's not on.
He's not looking in the yellow pages.
He's not looking in the yellow pages. No, he's not doing anything. He's going to TikTok and he's finding these influencers, and he's like, hey, I'm going to use this guy because he looks famous, and I'll pay him whatever. So.
Right.
Anyways, we can shoot the breeze forever. It's always good to talk to you, man. And it's always fun to learn. There's a lot of things I learned about you today. That was pretty cool. I don't think I knew that you had a nursing background.
Yeah, I do. If you ever need a B12 shot or anything, just holler at me.
I do, and I will tell you, I'm terrified of needles. And I just listen.
Oh, no.
I had to go. I'm going to tell you a quick nursing story. Can I?
Yeah.
So I had to go get my blood drawn the other day, and when I say I'm terrified of needles, I am such a sissy, and I can't even look at it. Like, I have to look away, and there's a lady so I had to go to the doctor, and they were doing the blood drawing, and I always tell nurses, almost in a jokingly way, like, I'm a giant sissy, I might cry, don't judge me, whatever.
Yeah.
And this lady starts telling me the story, and she's like, well, my daughter. Anyway, she goes in this random story about her daughter and this play date with her friend and whatever. And I'm sitting there thinking about it. I'm like, she said, do you have a daughter? I said, yeah, she's 16. And the lady goes, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I was like, with what? She's like, oh, I got your blood. I'm not even joking. I could feel her hand on my arm. Just done.
Yeah.
So, if ever I have to go get blood drawn, Miss Jen is the one who's going to do that from here on out.
There's definitely an art form to it, for sure.
I've had some that are not great. So anyway, so Jacob, I know you're busy. I know you got a lot of stuff going on. Man, I appreciate you coming and hanging out and telling a little bit about your story. Do you have any last minute thoughts that you'd like to share with the listeners?
Yeah. So here's what I'll leave with, because when you asked me to do this, I kind of started thinking about, what are we going to talk about? And you kind of sent some questions that that may come up, and you didn't ask any of those questions, but so I'm going to answer one of those questions.
Yeah, sure.
That is kind of inspiring me to kind of dive back into some stuff. So I think you asked a piece of advice that I would give myself if I could go back when I was first starting out, and I thought about that quite a bit, and if I could go back, I think the most important thing I could tell myself is get good at decision making. Study decision making. Develop a process for how do you make a decision, because I think people don't think enough about that. That's the whole business, as a manager, is decision making. That is, in a nutshell, that is everything. And taking the time to kind of think about how you make decisions, and having a written out process of these are the steps I'm going to take when I have these big decisions to make. Because I struggle. I have to remind myself constantly. I struggle with being terrified of making the wrong decision and spending so much time trying to make sure everything is perfect, and then I'm going to make the right perfect decision. By the time the decision's made, you've missed the boat on the benefits you could have reaped from making that decision. So I would go back to myself and say, study decision making, study great decision makers. There's lots of books out there. There's a book called Blink. There's one called Chop Wood, Carry Water. Those are some great books that I've read through the years that are pretty helpful in decision making. And I think ultimately everything about a business boils down to that. And the better you can get at making decisions quickly, I think the better off any business would be.
The term is analysis paralysis.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Boy, I struggle with that.
The world moves fast. The world, with all the things that we just talked about, that's the big thing, is the world moves faster now than it ever has, and it's not going to slow down. It's just going to keep moving fast.
It is faster and faster, and then you get something like a pandemic that pops up, and if there are many businesses that did not make quick decisions that are not around anymore, and we made some pretty quick decisions pretty quickly, and we thrived during the reason we were able to is because we were able to kind of step back and use the data we had and make good decisions based on that, and make them quickly and implement them quickly. That's the key to everything, for sure.
Very cool. That is fantastic. That's fantastic, man. That's a good closing thought there. I like it.
Awesome.
Well, Jacob, cool, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us, and we will see you soon, actually.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Looking forward to seeing you soon, hopefully.
All right, thanks.
See you.
So that wraps up our conversation with Jacob and his journey, which honestly is a little bit different of a journey than you typically hear in our space, which is certainly not a bad thing. But it is one of those things where it makes you think about, I think sometimes we get in this place where we feel like in order to have a really solid team member that they have to be from the trades. And I think Jacob's story is a really good one, where he's obviously not from the trades. He was not, all that mechanically inclined. And, there's a lot of traits. Success leaves clues, right? And they leave traits. And no matter what industry you're in, there's a lot of times there's the same kind of traits that happen no matter, really no matter what you do. So some things I wrote down that were positive traits from nursing that might be able to, that do translate into what we do as an industry is fast-paced. I mean, it's a fast-paced industry. There's a sense of urgency. I mean, think about it. If you're like, oh, something is stat, it's stat, and you don't stat and get to whatever, then the urgency it can turn into a bigger problem. You get what I'm saying? Prioritization is a good one. Hitting deadlines is a good one. So there's just a couple of things that I wrote down that for me felt like pretty good traits from the nursing. And, honestly, I've never really thought about it in this case, but maybe that's the next really good place to recruit. We've always talked about restaurants, people in restaurants, and people that were servers coming into our space, and, people in the car dealership business being in our space, but never really thought too much about the nursing side. So that was something really cool that I learned in today's episode. So listen, if you found value in today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave a review, and also share it. If you've got somebody that could benefit from mastering business transformation, share this episode. That would mean a lot to me. And honestly, if you share it with somebody, it'd probably mean a lot to them. So until next time, keep those benchmarks and watch your business and leadership transform. This is Justin Deese signing off from the Freedom Blueprint podcast. Stay motivated, stay empowered, and as always, keep crushing it.
You've been listening to the Freedom Blueprint podcast. Information is useless if not applied. So take what you've learned and go and implement it. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon. But in the meantime, find us on social media at Freedom Blueprint for Home Services, and hit the website at www.freedomblueprintpodcast.com. See you next time.